The standing pivot transfer is probably the most common transfer, since there are lots of people who have the ability to stand up but need help. Before you attempt to move someone, please remember to check for any signs of distress.
Sometimes, usually because of fear or pain, the person you're caring for will be afraid to stand up or will make only a minimal effort. But in order to encourage independence, it's important that you strongly encourage the person to make a maximum effort to stand, instead of depending on you to do the lifting.
The standing pivot transfer is for the patient who has the ability to stand but needs your help. And some patients will depend upon you, expect you to lift and put them down into the chair, to actually lift them up and put them into the chair. You want to discourage that, and you want to encourage the patient to stand up as much as he or she can, because that's another important form of independence, the ability to stand up if you have that ability. And some patients will not do it because they're afraid or they have pain, but that could be a major goal of the physical therapy program, and you would be a participant in that to really encourage that patient to stand up whenever they have the opportunity. So I'd like you to sit back. Well, let's take a look at the transfer back again. Just slide out to the edge and make sure the feet are not tucked all the way in the back. You want those feet to be flat on the floor and spaced apart for balance. You don't want the feet to be real close. Now the feet are spaced apart for balance. You have the patient stand up and turn and sit. Now, since this foot plate is a problem, notice how it keeps falling down? This is a good real-life example of a problem. This foot plate can be an obstacle. It can create some danger. So the best thing is to just remove it. Very simply, you push in the lever and lift it off, and now it is no longer a problem. Also, I have moved away from the patient because I've assumed that she has good sitting balance and she's not dizzy. So you'll have to be aware of those things. Put the chair in, lock the brakes, and you can ask the patient to lock the brakes as well on her side to, again, to do something else that adds up to more independence. Uncross the legs. Slide out, please. Standing pivot transfer, again, is for the patient who has the ability to stand but needs help. Now we have a rule. If there is a weakness on one side, which is usually the case, you want the strong leg to be close to where the patient is going. So in this case, Raylene's strong leg is the right, and this is the weaker leg. Now, the strong leg, since it's going to take most of the weight, we want it to be further back, but not back so far that the heel rises off the floor. We want that foot to be flat, the heel flat. The weaker leg should be a little bit more forward and spaced, not too much, but enough to allow your foot to go in no further than your heel at the toe. Your heel should not go past the patient's toe. But there are other things you have to be careful of. You see this wheel? If that wheel were sticking like this, I would move it out of the way. I also want to give myself, you want the patient to be as close to the chair as possible, but you also have to give yourself room so you don't stumble. So I have the patient's foot there. I put my foot in here. It helps maybe to angle a little bit in the direction that she will be turning. Another thing to watch out for is the patient who puts their foot out at an angle like that, because that could throw you off at an angle. If you're lifting the patient and turning, twisting the trunk at the same time, you're practicing poor body mechanics. So we'll have the foot out a little bit like this. I put my foot right next to hers, excuse me. This leg right here, so now I am bracing on the patient's weak knee. I'm giving it support. I put my hands underneath the arms, behind the back, right across the back. I never lift underneath the shoulders. And Raylene, why don't you just stand up so I can demonstrate where the hands would be. Not like this, but like this, right underneath. And you also don't allow the patient to hold on to your neck. Okay. Once again, correct positioning. I want to lift the patient straight toward me rather than to be like this and to have my back twisted while I do it. That's poor body mechanics. So here we go. You must explain to the patient what you're going to do and what the patient must do. So Raylene, I'm going to help you get into the chair, and I would like you to stand up as much as you can on your own. I'll give you some help. Here we go. 1, 2, 3. Up and turn, hand back on the chair, and sit. Did anyone notice how when I stood up, my left foot stepped out a little bit from between the patient's feet? Let's take a look at that again. Watch my left foot. Here we go. 1, 2, 3. So I step out and a little bit to the side, so I have a wide base of support for my own balance, and I can help the patient turn. So the standing pivot transfer has 3 parts: stand up, turn, and sit. And it's very important the patient understands that, because as I said, many patients will just expect you to lift them up and put them down. That's the standing pivot transfer. The essential things you need to remember about the standing pivot transfer are: 1. It's for the patient who can stand but needs help. 2. The patient's stronger leg should be close to where she's going. 3. Position your legs so you can brace the knee of the patient's weaker leg. 4. Help the patient to stand as completely as possible, then turn, then sit.